Greetings, Michael Didier here. Thank you for joining us. We're continuing our journey. Do you know we're finished chapter 32 last week of 40 chapters in Exodus. Not many weeks we'll be done with Exodus, be able to start Leviticus. Wow, it really goes fast. Deuteronomy's a little bit longer, but it's going faster and faster, it seems like. Last week, remember, Moses is still up on the mountain. He came down last week, had the golden calf event. But he's still up on the mountain, still receiving instructions from Yehovah. And finally, Yehovah gives him the instructions for the altar of incense, the golden altar. Why did it take so long? I don't know. I just don't know. He did that. He talked about the altar of incense. Remember, we talked about Aaron lighting our burning sweet incense on it every morning and every evening when he tends the lights. And that kind of sent us off on a little bit of a hiatus because we realized, and just, for me, I discovered that the lights in the tabernacle do not burn 24/7. I always thought they did. They apparently burn from evening until morning. He tends them in the morning, probably updates wicks and those kinds of things, and gets them ready to be lit in the evening when they do the evening olah. Remember, we're going to do 2 olahs every day, a morning and an evening olah. A burnt, so it's called a burnt, an olah. A sweet aroma to Yehovah. He says, don't offer burnt offerings. Don't offer grain offerings, minka offerings. And don't offer nesek on, that's the wine, on the golden altar. Only incense. Got to do it at the right time. Next, we talked about Israel. Doing a census for Israel. Every man is to give a ransom for himself. Remember, Israel belongs to Yehovah. What was the ransom? Half shekel. Pretty minimal amount. But look what it says. Again, I want to help you understand we're talking about men. There are no ladies that we're talking about. Everyone included among those who are numbered from 20 years old and above. So they got to be 20 or older. They're the ones that are going to bring the shekel. Next, we talked about the laver. The laver was left off too. Why was the laver left off? Remember, the laver is where we have the water for washing our hands. The priests are the priests' hands and feet before they go into the tabernacle, but also before they put anything on the brass altar. I didn't understand that either. I thought that was very interesting. We talked about the way to make the anointing oil, and we talked about how we make the incense. And remember, we talked about it's not something that just anybody compounds. This is something that if you compound it and use it on somebody else, you get cut off from Israel. Next chapter. We did 3 chapters last week. Next, he calls Bezalel, the son of Uri, the son of Hur, by name. He calls Aholiab by name. How cool. It says he's going to put Spirit Elohim in him. You know, we always want to talk about the Spirit of Elohim. No, it's Spirit Elohim. He's putting Spirit Elohim in him. Same word we saw in Genesis 1. Same word we're going to see, or same words we're going to see today. Spirit Elohim was over the face of the waters. So he called Belial, he called Aholiab, and he talks about all the things that they're going to make. We're not going to go through that. Finally, he talks about the Sabbath, how important the Sabbath is to him. Anybody who does work on the Sabbath, he shall surely be put to death. Your wife does it on the Sabbath, you are responsible for her. Your servants do it on the Sabbath. You're responsible for your servants. We see that the buck stops with Israel. Those are the Ezra men who are the ones who own the land, who have all these other women and children and servants living within their gates, and Ger living within their gates, and their families. The last thing we talked about was the Ten Commandments. Yehovah cut 2 tablets and wrote the Ten Commandments. We saw it was on 2 sides of each of those tablets. The last chapter we talked about was chapter 32. This was the creation of the golden calf and the altar of the golden calf. Did you know there was an altar of the golden calf in addition to the golden calf? It said, now the people saw that Moses delayed. Who are the people? We've got to understand we're talking about Israel's seed. We're talking about men. You know, a lot of these men, they've been just doing what they're supposed to do. They kept the Passover. Why? Because they didn't want any more plagues. But their heart is not necessarily circumcised. Their privates are, but their heart isn't. We're going to see that in the future also. But we've got to understand this is all going down at the base of Sinai. The ladies aren't here. The servants aren't here. They're all back at Rephidim. He says, break off the golden earrings that are in your ears, in your wife's ears, in your son's ears, in your daughter's ears. It says they broke them off. Even took the ones that were in their ears. They're doing this. Remember, Yehovah, they don't know it. Yehovah already commanded Moses to tell Israel to bring the things that they're going to need for the creation of the tabernacle, for the creation of the priest's foods, for all the things that are in the tabernacle, the incense, all the stuff that's going to be needed. They're supposed to bring in. Some of it is gold. They're bringing it where? To the golden calf of all things. Oh my goodness. But I want you to understand, we're talking about the people. We're talking about your wives, your sons, your daughters. What does that tell us? It says the people aren't wives, aren't women. They're not sons. They're not daughters. Remember we said 20 years old and above was Israel. Well, little things that we got to remember and catch that will help us develop deeper understandings. So, Aaron made it. We thought, why on earth did he do that? Remember, we talked about it. Is it possible that the women and the men who don't have, are the men who don't have earrings in their ears? If their wives, their women don't have earrings in their ears? If their sons don't have earrings in their ears? Is it possible? What do they have to do? Go down the mountain to do that? It appears they did. It's evidence. Why don't you have an earring in your ear? Well, we talked about that at length last week. Look, they made a golden altar, or they made an altar and burnt Olah on it, burnt Shalamim on it. These are the things that we do to Yehovah, not to foreign gods, not to idols. Yehovah says, your people have corrupted themselves. They made a golden altar and slaughtered it. Slaughtered. They're having a party. Remember, you slaughter your Shalamim. You burn the fat on it and you eat the rest. He was going to kill him, make a great nation out of Moses. Moses said, no, remember your promise to Isaac, to Abraham, to Jacob. You said you'd do it to their descendants, and you'd give the land to them, the land and the seed, the land and the seed. We talk about it all the time. Only Israel gets the land. Well, it says that then Moses turned and went down the mountain, and the 2 tablets of the testimony were in his hand. Well, he threw them on the ground, destroyed them, sent the priests, the Levites rather, after those who were worshiping this golden calf. Killed many of them with the sword. It said 3,000 men died that day. No ladies here. These are men. And all the Levi's seed gathered themselves together to him. Let every man put on his sword. There it is. Well, the last thing we talked about was, really, it was way back here in verse 23. Yeah, here it is, 32:20. Then he took the calf, which they had made, burned it in fire, and ground it to powder. And he scattered it into the water and made Israel's seed drink it. Israel's seed is going to drink this water. Remember, we liken this to Numbers 5. We serve, Israel serves. You got to be Israel to serve the jealous Elohim. But if you're going to leave the kingdom of your birth, you're going to leave those Elohim that you previously served and then go back and serve them again. Yehovah is going to be a jealous Elohim. They drank the waters. Everybody drank the waters. Why? So that Yehovah could kill the ones who had a wicked heart and worshipped that golden calf on purpose. He knows their hearts. Well, that's the last thing that we talked about. Today, Moses is going to go, well, this says he's going back down. When did he go back up? Moses came down for the 6th time. Let's take a look at this real quick. I have them marked. There's where he came down. So it was as soon as he came near the camp. This is him coming back down. Oh, he went back up. Here he is going back up. Then Moses returned to Yehovah. Oh, these people have committed a great sin and have made for themselves an Elohim of gold. Okay, these are all the places where he was going to talk about killing them. So he's back up with Moses, or with Yehovah now. And so now he's coming back down. Moses, or Yehovah says to Moses, depart and go down from here. Go up from here. I know it. I'm saying he's going down, but he's saying he's going up. You got to understand what's going on. Otherwise, you don't get it. Depart and go up from here. Okay? Up. We're going back up to the promised land. You, thou, and the people whom thou have brought out of the land of Egypt, to the land of which I swore to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. There it is. That's what we're talking about, going up to that land. To thy descendants, which I swore to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, saying, to thy descendants I will give it. He's giving the land to the seed, the spiritually born seed. Remember, Esau is a descendant, isn't he? But he's not a seed. He's a rebellious man who has never had the second birth. He's not the spiritual man. He says, I will send my angel before thee, and I will drive out the Canaanites, the Amorites, the Hittites, the Perizzites, the Hivites, and the Jebusites. You know, that always strikes me as funny. Because an Amorite, a Hittite, they're really the Hittites, Amorites, Hittites. The Perizzite is the only one who's not a Canaanite. Everybody else, the Hivite, the Jebusite, they're all Canaanites. And the Hittite and the Jebusite are one and the same. It's very confusing. Let's see what my note says. My messenger will lead you. He said, I will send. See that word send? That's shalach. My messenger. I will send my messenger. It gets translated as angel. It's melech. The shalach and the melech are one and the same. Before thee, and I will drive out the Canaanites and the Amorites and the Hittites and the Perizzites. Who's the messenger? I think there's two messengers in a sense. Because there's one messenger that's going to bring them to the promised land, which is the pillar of fire. But there's another messenger, which I think the sent one, the messenger, the melech, is Joshua. Joshua is the one who's going to drive out the Canaanites, the Amorites, the Hittites, the Hivites, the Perizzites, the Jebusites. Right now, Moses is the messenger. Could Moses be the messenger right now that we're talking about? But he's talking to Moses. Remember, he says, you're going to lead him up, but I'm not going to go with. But Moses says, I don't want to go if you're not going to go. I think it's the pillar of fire. Yehovah's in the pillar of fire. If the pillar of fire is there, Yehovah's there. It's kind of like if the messenger is there, Yehovah's there. If the sent one's there, Yehovah's there. The 144,000 are going to be the messengers, the sent ones in the last days, who are going to lead us in the way that we should go. Oh, Yehovah, I want to be one of the messengers. I want to be one of the shalachs. I want to speak for you. I want to see Yehovah's strong arm working for us in these latter days. He says, go up. There it is again, go up to a land flowing with milk and honey. You know, you have to ask yourselves, going up. We talk about going down to Egypt, but we talk about going up to the promised land. Is it maybe not north versus south, but positive versus negative? It may be. Here he is. Go up to the land flowing with milk and honey, for I will not go up in your midst, lest I consume you on the way, for you are a stiff-necked people. Who can stand in Yehovah's presence? That's the question that I put here. I will not go with you. Can a stiff-necked people stand in Yehovah's presence? He was being faithful to his words given to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. But you know what? I think we do ourselves a great disservice to think that we can be lackadaisical in these last days concerning the service that we give to Yehovah. Who can stand in his presence? Do you want to stand in his presence in the last days? I already said I do. Well, here's some verses that I found that talk about standing in his presence or standing before him. This is Malachi 3:2-3. Says, who can endure the day of his coming? And who can stand when he appears? For he is like a refiner's fire and like launderer's soap. Purifying is what the fire does. The soap cleanses, purifies. He will sit as a refiner and a purifier of silver. He'll purify who? Levi's seed. Levi's seed. Remember in Isaiah 66, he says, I will take some of those as priests and Levites. They're all Levites, aren't they? And purge them as gold and silver. And they shall become as Yehovah's minka unto righteousness. Yehovah's minka, the bread. Interesting that he should say minka, a minka unto righteousness. Who may ascend into the hill of Yehovah? Or who may stand? This is Psalms 24, 3 and 4. Who may ascend into the hill of Yehovah? Or who may stand in his holy place? He who has clean hands, a pure heart. He who has not lifted up his soul to an idol, nor sworn deceitfully. If you say you're going to serve Yehovah, you've got to serve Yehovah. The unholy cannot abide with the holy. Wherever the Holy One sees imperfection, wherever, it's almost whenever, he sees imperfection, impurity, or anything that is not consistent with his holy image, oh, this is my words, holy image, especially within his chosen vessel, Israel, he will purge it from and by his holy presence. Therefore, Aaron and all subsequent high priests are warned not to presume to come into the presence of the Holy One at all times, nor on their own terms. We come before Yehovah when he asks us to come before him. This is what happened with the sons of Aaron. They died because they went in with strange fire, came in at times that they weren't supposed to come in to the tabernacle. This is Leviticus 16. And Yehovah said to Moses, tell Aaron, your brother, not to just come in at any time into the holy place, inside the veil before the mercy seat, which is on the ark, lest he die. For I will appear in the cloud above the mercy seat. All talking about coming before the presence, or coming into the presence of Yehovah and living. The last one I'll mention here is Isaiah 5:20 through 25. It says, woe to those who call evil good and good evil, who put darkness for light and light for darkness, who put bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter. Woe to those who are wise in their own eyes and prudent in their own sight, because they have rejected the Torah of Yehovah of hosts and despised the word of the Holy One of Israel. Therefore, the anger of Yehovah is roused against them. Who can stand in his presence? Those who are becoming holy as he is holy. Not a stiff-necked people. Yeah, we're a stiff-necked people still. But at least Israel in the last days that is coming to Yehovah are men who have circumcised their hearts and then come into covenant with him at Passover. Verse 4. And when the people heard this bad news, what was the bad news? I will not go with you. They mourned. And no one put on his ornaments. Ornaments. What are we talking about? Ornaments. Trappings. Articles of dress, adornment that often witnesses to a person's position or rank. I got a hunch what the ornaments might be. Do you have a guess? got a hunch that it might be their tzitzit that they're taking off. The thing that says they are Israel's seed. Could it be? Really haven't even been told to put it on yet. But you know what? There's so much that is happening. In a sense, these aren't all new commandments. Obviously, the things about the tabernacle are. But many of these are not new commandments at all. There was always a Sabbath. Did they wear tzitzit before this? I wonder. They kept certain feasts. Passover wasn't new. Abraham kept Passover. No, there's more going on here. I got a hunch. It's just my suspicion that maybe these ornaments are the tzitzit. I'll leave it with that. For Yehovah had said to Moses, say to Israel's seed, you are a stiff-necked people. I could come up into your midst in one moment and consume you. Now therefore take off your ornaments, that I may know what to do with you. What other ornaments could they be? Did they have earrings that said they were Yehovah's people? So Israel's seed stripped themselves of their ornaments by Mount Horeb. Moses took his tent. Look at this. Moses took his tent. This is the tent moed, tent of moed. This is what we've been talking about. It always gets translated as Tabernacle of Meeting. The Tabernacle of Meeting, it hasn't been built yet. Moses hasn't even talked to Israel's seed about building it. That's how far away it is from being built. It's not going to go up until the first day of the first month of the second year. A year, a full year. Well, minus 2 weeks after we came out of Egypt. It says Moses took his tent and pitched it outside the camp, far from the camp, and called it the Tabernacle of Meeting. And it came to pass that everyone who sought Yehovah went out to the tent of meeting, which was outside the camp. Remember, we're talking about the camp at Sinai. Moses took his tent from among their tents and pitched it outside the camp. Still not talking about where the ladies are at further down the mountain. Where the servants are at, where the ger are at further down the mountain. The ger aren't here. They're the congregation. We'll see it later on. I had someone I heard in a video talking about the tabernacle. Moses moved the tabernacle. No, he didn't move the tabernacle. He moved his tent. His tent. Ohel Moed. Did I just say Ohel Moed a moment ago? I don't think I did. It's Ohel Moed. Ohel, tent. This happens to be his tent. Here, I think I've got it here. No, I guess I don't. It's Ohel with the Vav at the end of it. His tent. Took his tent, pitched it outside the camp, far from the camp, and called it the Ohel of Moed, tent of meeting. And it came to pass that everyone who sought Yehovah went out to the tent of meeting, which was outside the camp. So it was, look at this. So it was whenever Moses went out to the tent that all the people rose. And each man, all the people, each man stood at his tent door and watched Moses until he had gone into the tent. Here it is, the tent. Each man, ish, here's the tent. Ha, ohel. Each man, ish. His tent, he stood by his tent, And this last one is the tent. The tent. The ohel. Gotta get these right. I'm always amazed when I look up these words to find out that it has variations on these meanings that are not represented in the translation. Verse 9. And it came to pass when Moses entered the tent that the pillar of cloud descended and stood at the tent. And Yehovah talked with Moses. The tent, the tent, the tent. All the people, we're talking about the men people, saw the pillar of cloud standing at the tent door. And all the people rose and worshiped, each man, each ish. There's no lady ishes, there's no ladies here. In his tent door. His tent door. There it is, his tent. So Yehovah spoke to Moses face to face, as a man speaks with his friend. What a beautiful picture. Face to face. It's panim to panim, as a man speaks to his friend. Look what it says though. And he would return and he would return to the camp, but his servant Joshua, the son of Nun, a young man, did not depart from the tabernacle. Joshua is still apparently with Moses in his tent. You know, I had a hard time understanding this because it seemed like he went back up the mountain. He's talking to Yehovah and he's returning to the camp. But remember, we posted his tent outside the camp. Now he's leaving the tent. He's going back to the camp, but he's going back to the men's camp, the one that's at Sinai, Israel's seeds camp. Not the Rephidim camp, where the ladies and the children and the servants and the ger are. Subtle things that we've got to understand. Panim, face. Yeah, this is, it says, where is it? The face, also the presence of one through the sense of being in the face of, always written in the plural. This is written in the plural. Frequently used with the prefix lamed, meaning to or for, before the face of, would be probably how that's translated, to the face of or before the face of. I have to wonder, Joshua remained in the tent in Yehovah's presence. Did Joshua receive any additional information? I wonder. Here's the ESV, English Standard Version. It says, thus Yehovah used to speak to Moses face to face, as a man speaks to his friend. When Moses turned again into the camp, his assistant, I guess that's what I was looking for, his assistant. This said in New King James, his servant. I think assistant actually is more accurate. His assistant. His assistant. Joshua, the son of Nun, a young man, would not depart from the tent. 33:23 says, then I will take away my hand, and you shall see my back, but my face shall not be seen. Oh, I think this is interesting too, because look at this word, and my face. They said, but my face. It's a vav. But face is the Pei Nun. The Yod says my face, but here it says it's always used as a plural. Not used as a plural here. it's used as my face, my singular face shall not be seen. So again, just because it says something, always used in the plural, we've got to be discerning. This wasn't. 12. Then Moses said to Yehovah, see, thou say to me, bring up this people, but you have not let me know whom you will send with me. Moses is asking, who's the messenger? Yet thou have said, I know thee by name, and thou hast also found grace in my sight. He's quoting Yehovah. Now therefore I pray, if I have found grace in thy sight, show me now thy way, that I may know thee, and that I may find grace in thy sight. And consider this nation is thy people. This goyim is thy people. And he said, my presence will go with thee, and I will give thee rest. Well, we know that the pillar of fire stayed with him all the way to the promised land, didn't it? Was it Yehovah's presence in the pillar of fire and smoke that went with him? Or was it the Spirit, Spirit Elohim, Ruach Elohim, who was in Moses, that went with them? Could be either, couldn't it? Then he said to him, if your presence does not go with us, do not bring us up from here. Leave us here. I don't want to go. Moses would rather stay in the presence of Yehovah than go to the promised land without him in their midst. Yeah, I feel the same way. I put, wow, there's a man that knows Yehovah. Man after my own heart. For how then will it be known that your people, thy people, and I have found grace in thy sight, except thee go with us? You got to set the example. So we shall be separate, thy people and I, from all the people who are upon the face of the earth. Hear that? Thy people and I shall be separate from all the people. Remember, we're talking about men people. Men people. From all the people who are on the face of the earth. Can't serve other Elohim. Not talking about America. Not talking about Japan. Not talking about Thailand. Not talking about England, Spain, France. Talking about Yehovah's people, Israel. And I'm not talking about that place called Israel right now. Israel is a people, his Ezra men. Those Ezra men are being separated from all the people who are on the face of the earth. Can't stay in the kingdom of your birth and be one of Yehovah's people. You got to be separate. You know what? Staying separate is hard. Living, making a living is hard. But we've got to figure out a way to do it. It's a process of coming out and being separate unto Yehovah. Even John says, love not the world, nor the things that are in the world. My wife, my woman, is still working in the world. But we are slowly getting her out of the world. We're learning how to live in such a way that we don't have to have those covenants. It's starting to come together for us. But it's a definite process. I put, we are not his men if we will not separate ourselves from the people of the earth. In this very next chapter, he will tell us not to make covenants with the people of the land. Can't do it. We can have a covenant with Yehovah. That's the man, that's the El, the lawmaker and the judge that we're supposed to have a covenant with. Verse 17. So Yehovah said to Moses, I will also do this thing that thou hast spoken. I will also do this thing that thou hast spoken. For thou hast found grace in my sight, and I know thee by name. He heard the heart of Moses. I don't want to go anywhere without you, Father. Now Moses says, please show me thy glory. Then Yehovah says, I will make all my goodness pass before thee, and I will proclaim the name of Yehovah before thee. I will be gracious to whom I will be gracious, and I will have compassion on whom I will have compassion. But he said, you cannot see my face, for the man, Ha-Adam, for the man shall not see me and live. And Yehovah said, here is a place by me, and thou shalt stand on the rock. So it shall be while my glory passes by that I will put you in the cleft of the rock and cover thee with my hand while I pass by. Then I will take away my hand, and thou shalt see my back, but my face shall not be seen. Here's Genesis 32:30. So Jacob called the name of the place Peniel, for I have seen Elohim face to face, and my life is preserved. He talked about seeing Elohim face to face. Yehovah spoke to Moses as a man speaks to his friend, face to face as a man speaks to his friend. But when it comes down to it, we cannot see Elohim and live. Flesh cannot see Elohim and live. I think that's why Yehovah always comes in a pillar of fire and smoke. Comes in a cloud. We can't see him. 33:11 says, so Yehovah spoke to Moses. Oh, that's the one I just quoted. Numbers 12:8 says, I speak with him face to face, even plainly, and not in dark sayings. As he sees the form of Elohim, why then were you not afraid to speak against my servant? He's talking to Miriam and Aaron. Well, I think we've got enough going on that. Let's continue. Oh, I guess that was the last verse. 23. Then I will take away my hand, and thou shalt see my back, but my face thou shalt not see. Yeah, my face. There's what we were talking about earlier. My face. Not plural. All right. Let's go on to chapter 34. And Yehovah said to Moses, cut 2 tablets of stone like the first ones, and I will write on these tablets the words that were on the first tablets, which thou broke. We're bringing, the first tablets Yehovah wrote on for us. But now we are bringing stone tablets for him to write on again. I was thinking about this. In a sense, in Ezekiel, I want to say Ezekiel 31. It talks about the new covenant. Yehovah writing his Torah on our heart. That's the new covenant. The first covenant was written on stone. The second covenant is written on our hearts. We're still working here on the first covenant. And even it was diminished, lessened, because of our rebellious, stiff-necked ways. We had to get a second set written. And Yehovah said to Moses, cut 2 tablets of stone like the first ones, and I will write on these tablets the words that were on the first tablets, which thou broke. So be ready in the morning, and come up in the morning to Mount Sinai, and present yourself to me there on the mountain, there on the top of the mountain. He says, and no man shall come up with thee. Not talking about ladies. This is Ish. No man shall come up with thee. And let no man be seen throughout all the mountain. Let neither flock nor herds feed before that mountain. So he cut 2 tablets of stone like the first ones. Do you think he did it himself, or did he have it done? I think he had it done. He took the responsibility to get it done. So he took 2 tablets of stone like the first ones. Then Moses rose early in the morning and went up to Mount Sinai. But this is the 7th time he's going back up. Went up to Mount Sinai as Yehovah had commanded him. And he took in his hand the 2 tablets of stone. Now Yehovah descended in the cloud and stood with him there, and proclaimed the name of Yehovah. It says proclaimed the name of Yehovah. You know, this says, and Yehovah descended in a cloud and stood before him. Moses stood before him there and proclaimed the name of Yehovah. Who's proclaiming it? Who's calling out the name of Yehovah? He, Moses, or he, Yehovah? I think, and it's hard to see, I think it's he, Moses, that's calling out Yehovah's name, not Yehovah. Bear with me and see if that's what you think too. Remember this word proclaimed and proclaimed. It says he proclaimed. He proclaimed. He could be Yehovah. He could be Moses. We don't know who the pronoun goes with. Kara is the word that we're talking about. Primitive root, rather identical with another word, through the idea of accosting, a person met, to call out to. That's probably to address by name. This is what he's doing. He's addressing him by name. Listen to what he proclaims. And Yehovah passed before him, and he proclaimed. This is the proclamation that he proclaimed. Yehovah, Yehovah, Elohim, merciful and gracious. Why would he be saying this? Could it be because he first said he wasn't going to go with them, and now he says he is going to go with them? I think so. Merciful, gracious, long-suffering, and abounding in goodness and truth. Yehovah, Yehovah, El. It says El, not even Elohim, just El. Merciful and gracious, keeping mercy for thousands, forgiving iniquity and transgression and sin. Iniquity, transgression, and sin? What does that mean? Does it sound like sin, sin, sin? Forgiving iniquity, transgression, and sin. By no means clearing the guilty. Then it says, visiting iniquity, they put the iniquity of the fathers. No, it says the father's iniquity upon sons and sons' seed to the 3rd and 4th generation. Let's talk about this verse. You know what? There's so much here we can't see it. Sometimes we read things and it's like, what does that mean? Iniquity, transgression, sin. What does that mean? I had to look it up. What's the word they're using for perversity? Perversity is this word here, avan. It gets translated as perversity, evil, wicked sometimes. The next one is rebellion, revolt. These are my names: perversity, inclination to do evil, rebellion. They put iniquity, transgression. They translated this word, revolt, rebellion, as transgression. Well, yeah, you can see it when you look at it in that context of rebellion, transgression. But I know for me, when I think of transgression, when I think of iniquity, when I think of sin, they're all the same thing. They're synonymous, aren't they? But there's more that we've got to see. Perversity, avan, is more the inclination to do evil. That's what every man is born in. When you're born with the seed of Adam. Remember, he gave birth to Shem in his own nature, or in his own, I forget exactly how he said it, in his own image and his own nature. Not in the image of Elohim, in the image of Adam. And that's how it's been ever since. Every man is born a son of Belial. Wicked, perverse son. Our inclination is always to do evil. Inclination to do evil. But that's not sin. We're rebellious to Yehovah and his ways. But that's not the sin. The sin is the last word here, kata'ah. Kata'ah. That's the offense. Those are the things that we bring our offerings. Men bring offerings to Yehovah for. It's the actions. So I see we've got three things going on here. We've got perversity. That's our inclination to do evil. We've got rebellion, which simply is manifesting that inclination, but not yet doing it. And then the sin is the actual doing of it. Remember, a man is judged according to his ways, according to the deeds of his actions. Ways and deeds, those are what a man is judged for. And I did say man, I did not say woman. A woman has a different relationship with Yehovah. But now he goes on. Listen to what he says. By no means clearing the guilty. By no means clearing. Here. So let's liken the clearing unto the lifting. He's lifting the perversity, lifting the rebellion, lifting the sin, by no means clearing the guilty. Visiting a father's perversity, to do evil, inclination to do evil. See, when they say the fathers, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the, look what they put, the children. Ah! How do we ever get anything right? Without the Hebrew, we can't do it. There's no definite articles. It's not the iniquity. It's not the fathers. It is a father's perversity upon sons and upon sons' seed. B'nai, banim, son's seed, to the third and fourth generation. Well, think about that. My father, inclination to do evil. was upon me and upon my sons and upon my sons' sons who aren't even born yet. But my son's iniquity, inclination to do evil, is going to be upon his sons and his sons' sons. So it's enduring. This is not just to the third and fourth generation. This is to everyone. We're all born with the inclination to do evil. That's the rebellious seed. That's why it's called Belial's seed. Belial's seed. We're all born with Belial's seed, a seed of rebellion in us. So don't think of it as third and fourth generation. Think of it as eternal. That's what he's saying. Every father is giving this to his son, and the only way to break it is repentance. Coming to Yehovah with a contrite heart and a broken spirit. Making him your only Elohim by leaving the kingdom of your birth and joining his called out men. And then at Passover, coming into covenant with him and becoming the Ezra's son, the heir. Oh, this is an amazing verse. But forgiving iniquity and transgression and sin, you can't get it. By no means clearing the guilty. Visiting the iniquity of the fathers. When we talk about the iniquity of the fathers, where do we go? Don't we go to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob? That's where my mind goes. And then we talk about the children and the children's children. So now we're including women in it? No. That's not what it says. Upon sons and upon sons' seed. It's tough to see. It's so hard to see. So Moses made haste and bowed his head toward the earth and worshipped. Beautiful. Then he said, if now I have found grace in thy sight, my master, let my master, I pray, go among us, even though we are a stiff-necked people, and pardon, listen to what he says, and pardon our iniquity and our sin. Iniquity, there's that word again, avan, the tendency to do evil. Or what did I call that? The inclination to do evil. And the sin that we're forgiving is the kata'ah. Those are the actions. Pardon our inclination to do evil and the evil things that we do. Create in me a new spirit. Oh, Yehovah. Moses calls Yehovah his Adon. That's what he's talking about. Adonai, my master. Everyone else calls Moses my master. But listen, Moses, with a humble spirit, even includes himself among the people. Did he have a stiff neck? I don't think Moses had a stiff neck. But pardon our iniquity and our sin is what he says. Bless his heart. Is it possible that 144,000, his servants, will have these kind of conversations with Yehovah as well? Pardon our iniquity and our sin, oh Yehovah. You know, when Yehovah raises up his men, his servants are going to know him. They're going to have the faith to walk with him, like Moses. But there will be many, many who will join us who are so new to the faith, they just don't get it. They're going to be like these people that we're seeing in this chapter right now. That Yehovah just wants to wipe out from the face of the earth. And he's going to wipe out a bunch of us. That final Yom Kippurim, before the millennial kingdom begins, he's going to get rid of the ones who do not have the circumcised hearts. And he said, behold, I make a covenant before all thy people. Thy people. I will do marvels such as have not been done on the earth. He's calling them Moses' people. Nor in any nation. And all the people among whom thou art shall see the work of Yehovah. For it is an awesome thing that I will do with thee. How exciting it's going to be to see these things. This promise has last days ramifications as well. Oh, yes, it sure does. Again, we should continue to understand people as men. His Ezrach, the women, the children, even the ger are the responsibility of their man, the head of their gates. Head of the gate that these people dwell in. Observe what I command thee this day. Behold, I am driving out from before you the Amorites, the Canaanites, the Hittites, the Perizzite, the Hivites, the Jebusites. Same things that he said before. But why Canaan? Was Ham the culprit? It appears that the sons of Ham were to serve Japheth and Shem. Remember that? They were to serve the spiritual men. But they were men of the flesh who chose to dominate by force of will and strength over their brothers. We talked about what happened with Shem and Ham, that they were supposed to, or Ham, how Ham's seed, his sons, were supposed to serve Japheth and Shem's seed forever. Take heed to thyself, lest thou make a covenant with the inhabitants of the land where y'all are going, lest it be a snare in your midst. Where y'all are going, don't make a covenant. How many times have we seen Yehovah talking about not making a covenant with the inhabitants of the land? Here's Exodus 23, 32 and 33. You shall make no covenant with them, nor with their Elohim, lawmakers and judges. They shall not dwell in thy land, lest they make thee sin against me. For if thou serve their Elohim, it will surely be a snare to thee. Exodus 34:12, this is the one we're in right now. He says, 34:13, but you shall destroy their altars, break their sacred pillars, cut down their wooden images. For thou shalt worship no other Elohim, for Yehovah, whose name is jealous, is a jealous Elohim. This is what we were talking about last week, the law of jealousy. They were worshiping a golden calf, for heaven's sakes, burning Ohah and Shalomim on it. Can you imagine? This is what we do with Jesus. We aren't burning Shalomim on it, but or Allah for that matter, but we're still raising up another name in place of Yehovah. It's just as wicked. Lest thou make a covenant with the inhabitants of the land, and they play the harlot with their Elohim. Don't make a covenant with the inhabitants of the land. He goes on, lest thou make a covenant with the inhabitants of the land, and they play the harlot with their Elohims, lawmakers and judges, and make slaughters to their Elohim. How do we make slaughters to their Elohim? That's what we talk about in Leviticus 17. By slaughtering our animals in accordance with their ways, their statutes, their judgments, their ordinances. We all know about eating clean, but we don't understand about the slaughtering process. There's so much more that we have to get. And thou take his daughters, the inhabitants of the land's daughters, for thy sons, and his daughters play the harlot with their Elohim, and make thy sons play the harlot with their Elohim. Thou shalt make no molded Elohim for yourselves. Here's molded Elohim. We're talking about flesh Elohim. Now we're talking about molded Elohim. Now we're going to switch yet again. He's going to talk about the feasts of unleavened bread. He's going to interrupt it before we finish it. He's going to talk about 3 feasts. The feast of unleavened bread thou shalt keep. Thou shalt keep, you Israel seed. 7 days thou shalt eat unleavened bread, as I command thee, in the appointed time, in the month of the Aviv. For in the month of the Aviv, for in the Aviv month, is literally what it says, in the Aviv month, thou came out of Egypt. Let me mark that. I've got to remember to say it correctly. In the Aviv month. Probably even have it here. Yeah, here it is. The Aviv. In the Aviv month. Actually, I got to even fix that. Even that's not right. Let me just take this word here. Edit, cut. Get rid of this. In the Aviv month. Control V. That's what we're talking about. This month shall the beginning of months. On this month you are going out in the Aviv month. This is the problem with naming the first month Aviv. It's not the Aviv. It's not Aviv. It's the first month. It's the Aviv month. The first month. All that opens the womb. Changing gears again. Talked about unleavened bread. Keep it in the appointed time. Now he's changing gears. All that opens the womb are mine. Every male Bakar. Nope, that's not Bakar. We're talking about livestock here. Every male firstling. Zakar is the word that we're talking about for male. Every male firstling. This is the word pitar. Among your livestock, whether ox or sheep, the firstborn, the pitar of the donkey, you shall redeem with a lamb. And if you will not redeem him, then you shall break his neck. You want to keep your donkey alive, your firstborn donkey? Then you got to slaughter a lamb. Bring it to the priest. All the firstborn. Now here we're turning from pitar to, when we're talking about sons, we're going to talk about Bakar. Bakar. All the Bakar of thy sons thou shalt redeem. Thou, here it is, it's thou. Thy sons, thy sons. Let's fix it. That's what we're talking about. And none shall appear before me empty-handed. All the firstborn of thy sons thou shalt redeem. When we're talking about opening the womb, look at the word here. It's rakam. It's about the matrix. Talking about sons. You know, it drives me nuts. I heard a rabbi say it the other day. Is your mother Jewish? Mother Jewish? What are they thinking? Where do they even get such nonsense? The matrix is opened by males, not females. They don't got the seed. But we're not even talking about flesh seed. We're talking about spiritual seed. We're talking about spiritually born men. It's so perverted. How can they get anything right in Judaism if they miss such foundational things? They don't know the role of a man and the role of a woman. They're still talking about the children of Israel, for heaven's sakes. And any rabbi that's going to talk differently is going to be ostracized, alienated. It's sickening. The matrix that we're opening right now is sons, 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 sons. That's the matrix. That's the spiritual seed that's going to progress. Bekor. This is the firstborn, males. We're not talking about firstborn females. We're talking about firstborn. Look, chief, eldest son, firstborn. They're talking about men. Of thy sons. Again, reinforcing the idea that Bekor is sons. Bekorah is eldest daughter. But we're talking about Bekor. I put that down in here just for you. Who has doubts as to what I'm saying? You know, these are not easy things that I teach. Women have a different role than men have. And it's tough. It's tough to see that. 100 years ago, 150 years ago, my teaching would have been probably a lot more acceptable. As it relates to a man and his woman, it would have been a lot more acceptable. Nowadays, it's not. He's changing gears again. 6 days thou shalt work, but the seventh day thou shalt rest. In plowing time and in harvest thou shalt rest. And thou shalt observe. Look at this. We just had Passover, or the Feast of Unleavened Bread, way up here. There it is up there, 34:18. Now we're going back to the Feast of Weeks. We just did the Sabbath, talking about days that are set apart to Yehovah. Can you imagine? Look what it says. 6 days you shall work, but the seventh day you shall rest. In plowing time and in harvest thou shalt rest. Can you imagine the faith that it must take for a man who sees the rains coming, sees his crop out in the field, knowing that it could potentially be destroyed by the rains, and still honoring Yehovah's Sabbath, because he says, the seventh day you shall rest. In plowing time and in harvest you shall rest. Oh, Father, I was going to have to trust you today. It's hard. It's really hard, I'm sure. Never been in that situation. But remember, for many farmers, the getting in your harvest is the profit for the year. Maybe Yehovah will allow it to dry if it gets wet and still be okay. Maybe it'll be a better harvest because it had that extra time. Pretty tough. And thou shalt observe the Feast of Weeks. Feast of Weeks. Shavuot. The first fruits of the wheat harvest. And the Feast of Ingatherings at the end of the year. Sukkot. Getting ready to start Sukkot here very shortly. It looks like Sunday night. Pray for clear weather in Jerusalem Sunday. We must have it. We've got to be able to see the new moon. We have a problem this year because we declared the 6th month, I think, a day early. Even Nehemiah Gordon acknowledges that he may have declared it erroneously. I think it was a day early. But by declaring it a day early and making that the first day, it means that Sunday has got to be the day now. If he makes it Monday, the 3rd, now we got a 31-day month. That doesn't work. We've got to be able to see it. We should be able to see if it's clear. Pray for a clear time. If we don't have it at a clear time, we're going to have confusion in the body. It's going to be confusion. It's going to be very difficult. He says, 3 times in the year, all your men shall appear before the Master, Yehovah, Elohim of Israel. 3 times a year, all thy men, all thy males, it says males, all thy males, Zakar, thy Zakar shall appear before the Master, the Adon. You know, this is one of 2 places in the whole of the scriptures that it actually says the Lord. The Lord. Because that's what it means, the Lord. Capital, small L-O-R-D. The Master, before the Master, Yehovah. Most Bibles, 5,000 plus times it says the Lord. But there's only 2 places where it actually says the Lord. The Master. Ha-Adon. Here's one, 23:17, the one we're in, or not, the one we were in a few weeks ago, 23:17, and the one we're in today, 34:23. All your males shall appear before Yehovah. Whose males? Israel's males. That means who? Sons? Could it mean servants? It certainly means ger. All thy males shall appear before Yehovah. For I will cast out the nations before thee, and enlarge thy borders. Neither will any man covet thy land when thou go up to appear before Yehovah thy Elohim. Yehovah is the Elohim of the men. 3 times in the year. Oh, I get criticized so much for saying it's not about the ladies being there. Oh, but can't the ladies go? Doesn't say they can't go. You know what? When we went off to war, we did not have ladies in our camp because they contaminated our camp. If a man had a wet dream in the night, he had to get out of the camp so he didn't contaminate the camp. Can you imagine what a woman in her menses does when Yehovah is trying to dwell with his men? This is what's happening at these feasts. Yehovah is coming to dwell with his men. We can't have unclean women joining us. I know I get criticized for it. My own woman criticizes me for it. But it's there. We just have to open our eyes to be able to see it. We don't understand the role of a man and the role of his woman. All your males shall appear before Yehovah. We've got too many women learning to live as men. We train our women to live as men. Father, forgive us. We don't know your ways. We have been taught lies and we are teaching lies. Because we have a perversity to do evil. And we are rebellious. Look at that. Neither will any man covet thy land. You're going to leave and we don't have to worry about our land because no other man is going to covet our land. Yehovah is going to protect our land while we're gone. No other ish. Thou shalt not offer the blood. Look at this. Thou shalt not offer the blood of my slaughter with leaven, nor shall the slaughter of the feast of Passover be left until morning. So, you know what? I was a little concerned when I saw up here we were talking about the Feast of Unleavened Bread. I thought, where the heck is Passover? I thought Passover was here. Well, it is here. It's just further down. You shall not offer the blood of my slaughter with leaven, nor shall the slaughter of the feast of Passover be left until morning. No, we're not going to leave that animal left until morning. It's got to be burned up. He says, the first of thy land's first fruits. This is yet another word with the same root as bekor. Here's the word right here. Bekor almost sounds like the same word, spelled a little bit differently. The first of thy land's first fruits. They put the first of the first fruits of thy land. Well, they put your land. You just can't get it. The first of thy land's first fruits thou shalt bring to the house of Yehovah thy Elohim. Why? Because he's the one that multiplies the seed. He's the one that multiplies the flocks and the herds. That's why we bring him the firstborn. That's why we bring him a tithe of our herds and a tithe of our flocks. But the priests get the firstborn, the one that opens the matrix, the firstborn male. Thou shalt bring to the house of Yehovah. Thou shalt not boil a young goat in his mother's milk. Twice it says that. Same verse exactly. Once in Exodus 23:19, once in Exodus 34:26. Yehovah is repeating himself. You know what? Really, he's not. When I think about it, because 23:19 is when Yehovah is talking to Moses. Now, Moses is talking to, then Yehovah said to Moses, write these words according to the, no, I guess Moses is, he's still with Moses, isn't he? Where did we leave off here? Rose up, went up. Yeah, he's with Moses, or he's with Yehovah. Moses is with Yehovah right now. Interesting. Where was I? Here we are. Let's go to 34:27. Then Yehovah said to Moses, right? I gotta put my own words here. The pink tells me that it's erroneous. They said, then Yehovah said to Moses, write these words for according to the tenor of these words I have made a covenant. Tenor of these words. I had a problem with that because this is what I used last time. I didn't have the stuff I have at the top, the 2 paragraphs at the top here, down to here. This is all new. Tenor. I had this. Sense, contained, purport, substance, general course, or drift. Talk about the spirit of a conversation as a close attention to the tenor of a discourse. You know what? I don't want the spirit. I want to know what Yehovah's word actually says. And so when I read this the second time, I thought, that doesn't work. So I had to go back and translate this for myself. Here's my translation of what's actually going on here. Then Yehovah said to Moses, write for thyself the words of my mouth. The words of my mouth. With these very words, I made a covenant with thee and with Israel. Now that makes sense. Write for thyself the words of my mouth. Write them for you. Write them for Israel. With these I've made a covenant. Doesn't that make much more sense? So he was there with Yehovah 40 days and 40 nights. He neither drank bread or drank water. And he wrote on the tablets the words of the covenants, the 10 commandments. That's weird. And he wrote. It has to be Yehovah who wrote it. They did make a capital letter here. So he was there. Moses was there with Yehovah 40 days and 40 nights. Moses neither drank bread or drank water. How do you do that? How do you do that? But never forget, the first commandment leads to all the rest. And Elohim makes statutes and judgments and ordinances. If Yehovah is our only Elohim, we only follow his statutes, ordinances, and judgments. All right. Now, I guess I said that because some people would say, all we got to do is keep the 10 Commandments. He wrote the tablets of the words of the covenant. That's the words of the covenant. The 10 Commandments. No! That's the start of it. But it's not the full covenant. Because the full covenant has to do with all his statutes, all his judgments, all his ordinances. And the first commandment is about Elohim. Who is our Elohim? Thou shalt have no other Elohim before my face. Yehovah is the Elohim who brought us out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. Now he's going back down for the 7th time after another 40 days. Now it was so when Moses came down from Mount Sinai, and the 2 tablets of the testimony were in Moses' hand when he came down from the mountain, that Moses did not know that the skin of his face shone while he talked with him. Hear that? Moses' face is shining. So when Aaron and Israel's seed saw Moses, behold, the skin of his face shone, and they were afraid to come near him. Can you imagine this glowing man? Is he got radiation poisoning? That's what we would think nowadays. What did they think then? Probably what these people thought in the antediluvian world when Enoch's face shone. Look at this. This is Yasher 3:20. And he did in this manner for many years. And he afterwards concealed himself for 6 days and appeared to the people one day and 7. The people were the men people. And after that, once a month. And then once a year, until the kings, princes, and the sons of men sought for him. These are all men that are looking for him, and desired again to see the face of Enoch, and to hear his words, but they could not, as all the sons of men were greatly afraid of Enoch. Why? And they feared to approach him on account of the godlike awe that was seated upon his countenance. Therefore no man could look upon him, fearing he might be punished and die. Does that sound like maybe Enoch had the same glow that Moses has? Is it possible that the 144,000 will have the same glow? I wonder. The servants of Elohim will be raised up in the last days. Then Moses called to them, and Aaron and all the rulers of the congregation returned to him, and Moses talked with them. Hear that? Moses is going to talk with who? Aaron and the rulers of the congregation. These are the 70 rulers, probably. All men. Then he's going to talk with who? Israel's seed. Afterwards, all Israel's seed came near, and he gave them the commandments, all that Yehovah had spoken to him on Mount Sinai. Hear that? The commandments, all that Yehovah had spoken to him on Mount Sinai. But it's a lot more than just the commandments. There's a chain of command in Yehovah's kingdom. It goes like this. Yehovah speaks to Moses. Moses speaks to the rulers of the congregation. And Moses also speaks to Israel's seed. But each seed, each son, speaks to his assembly. His woman, his sons, his daughters, his servants, maidservants, and the ger who dwell with them. The Ger are going to talk to their women and their sons and their daughters. It's all done according, it's all done in a very systematic fashion. Moses doesn't tell a woman of another man what to do. Be overstepping his boundaries. Can't do that. Bone of your bone, flesh of your flesh, you tell what to do. Well, we've got just a couple more verses I want to cover. All right, 3. And when Moses had finished speaking with them, he put a veil on his face. I thought he put the veil on his face before he spoke with them. It says, but whenever Moses went in before Yehovah to speak with him, he would take the veil off until he came out. And he would come out and speak to Israel's seed, whatever he had been commanded. So why does it say, it seems like it's opposite, doesn't it? But whenever Moses went in, and when Moses had finished speaking with them, he put on a veil. He put a veil on his face. Seems like one verse is saying the opposite of the other, doesn't it? And whenever Israel's seed saw the face of Moses, that the skin of Moses' face shone, then Moses would put the veil on his face until he went in to speak with him. Goes back and forth. Well, that's where we're at today. Finished 33 and 34. Next time, Moses is going to begin to speak with the congregation of Israel's seed. Hear that? For chapters 19 all the way to 34, it's been Israel's seed at Mount Sinai. Now, Israel's seed is going to be together with the congregation, their congregation, once again. And Yehovah is going to begin to teach them some of the things that Yehovah taught Moses. Well, he was on the mountain for some 80 plus days. These men who have been in Sinai, away from their women, children, ger, and servants, both male and female, have been away from them for 80 plus days. Next week, they're going to be reunited. And we're going to see some things that are going to challenge, if we lack understanding, they're going to challenge what it is that we've seen over and over and over. The role of the man and the role of the woman, the role of the Ezrach, the role of the ger. We've got to understand these foundational things if we're going to go deeper in our understandings as we continue our adventure in Torah. Well, thank you for joining me today. We'll see you again next time. You have a great day. Bye now.